Alright guys, welcome back for another video on HAIKYU Fly High, and today I want to discuss the topics of whether you should be going for multiple copies of a single UR character so you can actually dupe them up, or would you actually rather want to pull just one single copy of loads of different UR characters so you can get a UR in all of your every single position in your team. Now before getting into that topic, I first of all want to just point out that there are going to be two slightly different summoning strategies depending on which route you want to go down. Now previously, if you've seen my previous video when I was talking about gem income and how you can get one free UR every single month, that was based on the assumption of you are trying to go for just one single copy rather than going for dupes. And for that strategy, you will be trying to hit up to 50. Now there's one thing I want to first of all clarify about that strategy because I think it may have caused some misunderstanding based on some of the comments I've seen. So this was the calculation I've done back then. Once again, I will copy that video link in the description so you guys can actually check out how I reached this result. But basically, if you actually take a look at my conclusion, what I was saying is that because there are 2 banners per month, and if you summon 50 times, you get 7 tickets back. So I was doing the calculation as 7 times 2. And a lot of people took that as I should be summoning 50 times on this UR banner twice and then go for the UR on the third banner, but that's not actually correct. The way I have intended, I always calculate it over 2 banner cycle. So even though I am calculating by 2, what I am actually referring to is that for the very first banner, you'll be summoning 50 times, so you get those 7 tickets back. However, the second time, you just be going for that UR character yourself. And when you're actually going for that UR character, you probably need to go 70 summons or 80 summons to actually hit that pity, to actually get that character. And of course, in that process, you would have gotten those 7 tickets back as well. So I am not actually talking about you need to do 50 summons twice to build up pity and then summon for the actual character the third time round. I am always talking about just within one single month, you are already able to guarantee one UR character. Obviously, if the second banner, the UR character on the second banner is not actually someone you want, then you just simply delay it by simply only doing 10 pull. If you do a 10 pull, you get 2 tickets back, and therefore you are not actually getting too close to the pity because the pity is actually going to increase. The likelihood of you getting the character is actually going to increase after, I think, 100. No, after 80 summons, so you don't want to get too close to 80, otherwise you may end up with an unwanted pity. But that's just something I want to clarify up front because I know it might cause some misunderstanding in case people are thinking I need to do 2 times 50 first and hit all the way up to 100 before then actually summoning. But that's not what I was actually intending here, okay? So I just want to make sure that is clear. Okay, now let's talk about the actual topic of today, which is whether you want to go for dupes or lots of different UR characters instead. Now, I'm going to talk about this both from supply and also demand perspective, just so you get a clear picture from both sides, okay? First of all, from demand side, which is going to be, simply how many UR or SP character do you actually want on your team? Now, vast majority of us are not going to be heavy pay-to-win player who are actually capable of getting a full team of UR character. So normally a cost-effective way of building a team is going to be trying to utilize some kind of school bot, because even though SSL characters are going to have lower power rating than UR characters, if you're actually then actually able to add in all of those bonds, etc., it's actually able to compensate, and therefore it's going to be a very cost-effective way, especially if you're not actually going for max dupes on all of your UR characters, etc. as well. So as a result, vast majority of the time you would actually be bringing at least 2 or possibly even 3 SSR character onto a team. So the most number of UR character vast majority of players should be aiming for, it's going to be 4. So have a think about which 4 UR characters you actually want, because anything more than the 4th one is not actually going to go into a first team. It could potentially go into a second team to help improve your second team, etc. But obviously the value of that is not going to be as high as someone who is actually able to directly improve your first team. So I would highly recommend, rather than trying to spread your resources into trying to get more than 4 different UR characters, just concentrate on 4 of them and actually try to go for extra dupes on them to make sure they're as strong as possible to actually raise all of your first team rating. Because when you actually have your team rating high for your first team, you're able to farm more resources, you're able to do more well in PvP stages. I know eventually in future there will also be a 3 versus 3 PvP stage, but for those kind of ones, you normally only need 2 strong teams anyway, and you can totally split your 4 UR character across 2 teams to still make 2 very strong teams. So for me, I think like 4 UR is probably going to be the maximum free-to-play player can consider. Anything more than that, I'll probably rather invest into dupes instead. So that's on the demand side. Now let's move on to the supply side, which is how easy it is for you to actually get those UR characters. Now, one thing you have to know is that in this game, there's this cumulative reward on the UR banners, and when you get up to 200, you get one free copy of that character. This is obviously going to be a duplicate character because the pity for UR characters is only going to be 140. So as you actually summon all the way up to cumulative, you would have already gotten one base copy of that character. And in fact, the sweet spot for actually summoning for dupes should be 220, because when you actually go 220 times during the event, you also have the spin and win, which you can get 5 banana milk voucher, and 20 banana milk voucher is essentially going to be another universal dupe for UR character. So this is essentially another quarter of a dupe, or a quarter of a UR. So that's kind of what 220 is normally going to be the sweet spot. And in fact, if you actually go 220 times on a banner, because the pity itself is normally going to be 140, so vast majority of the time, with average luck, you should be getting a UR character in about 100 to 120 pulls. So when you actually summon 220 times, there's actually a good chance you may be able to just pick up 2 copies doing those 220 summons, then adding this extra one from the cumulative reward. You already have 3 copies of the same character, which can then actually unlock his first passive into his Resonance level 2, okay? And basically that's going to be a massive game changer for a lot of UR characters as well. So it's definitely going to be a lot more efficient to go for UR dupes, because you can, like I said, you can actually get like 3 copies in just 220 summons, whereas if you are actually wanting to start the pity over and over again for a fresh new character, it's going to be 140 for just 1 copy. So it's also going to be a lot more efficient to go for dupes on the same character rather than trying to get loads of different UR characters, okay? There's also going to be one other thing you want to consider, which is going to be whether the dupes are even going to make much of a difference to those UR or SP characters. Now, for some characters, it's going to be a massive game changer, such as Yujima. For some other characters, it may not actually matter much. And obviously, for the character which do matter, sometimes you want 2 dupes on them for just the first skill. Sometimes you actually want to go all out and get 6 dupes for the second passive skill as well. So it's going to definitely be different for every single UR character. But don't worry, I'll got you guys covered. I will be posting a video in the coming days talking about my own opinions on how many dupes do you actually want for each one of those future UR or SP characters. So do watch out for that video in a few days, okay? Last thing, I guess, just to finish off this video, I just kind of want to reiterate in terms of the summoning strategy based on whether you want to go for dupes or loads of different UR characters. Now, first of all, there's nothing wrong with either strategy, right? Personally, I think if you actually want to be competitive, it's going to be a bit more cost effective to actually go for multiple dupes on the same character, because, like I said, it's going to be a lot more cost effective to get multiple dupes on the same character rather than lots of different characters. However, this is a gacha game, right? There's nothing wrong with just building a team of your fan favorites, all of the characters you really like from the original series. Nothing wrong with that. Just play the game however you want. So if you do actually want to go down the option of just getting one base copy, but for all of the URSP characters out there, that's also absolutely fine. Just enjoy the way you're actually going to play it, okay? Now, let's start off with the first strategy, which is going to be for when you actually just want to get loads of different UR or SP character. The best summoning strategy, in my opinion, for that is still going to be the one I originally posted. So do once again check out the link in the comment section so you know exactly what I'm referring to here. Basically, the idea is that you summon 50 times for the very first banner so that you actually build out the pity. And then for the second banner, which is the banner you actually want to summon for, then you go all out. And along the way, you obviously will hit 50 again and then get an extra 7 tickets back. This is the most fastest way of getting loads of different UR characters, because you are initially able to do this and get 1 UR every single month. Once again, the calculations are here. You can watch my original video to figure out how I reached this conclusion. And this is, like I said, it's the best way of getting lots of different UR characters. Now, you may be wondering what happens if I got super lucky and just managed to get a UR character in my very first 50 pities when I was trying to build it up. Well, in that case, I guess congrats, you just got super lucky, right? The rates in this game are very, very low for UR and SP characters. So if you're actually that fortunate enough, the game actually give it in less than 50 summons, just be grateful and take it. That's pretty much the best thing I can say. And then for the second type of players who are wanting to get dupes on the same character, Obviously, the sweet spot is going to be 220, like what I said earlier in the video, because that actually allows you to pick up the extra 5 milk voucher from the event, and therefore you pick up loads of dupes on the way. Basically, for that 220 summons, you should be able to get about 3.5 UR credits. So that's going to be the most efficient way of getting dupes. Now, obviously, depending on which UR character you are actually wanting to summon for and go for that dupe, you may need to adjust your 50 summon strategy instead. Like, for example, if that banner is going to be super far away, then probably you only want to do 10 summons, so that by the time you actually get to that banner, you are actually able to still not get too high up in the pity and risk an unwanted pity in the process. However, let's say if the banner you are going for, let's say it's the Mia twins, so it's not like immediately, but we are still like at least 2 or 3 banners away, then for those kind of cases, you can still definitely go 50 for the very first unwanted banner, and then only go 10 times for the next one. So you still are able to get nice amount of tickets back as the part of the cumulative rewards on your unwanted banners, and also at the same time build up your steady supply so that you can actually go all out for 220 on the Mia Twins banner when they do actually come.